It's great to see you guys again. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to meet with me. In our previous meeting, we discussed the goals and objectives that you would like to fulfill, and today we're going to discuss how you're going to get there. I remember you two saying that when you retire, you want to be a member at a country club. Well, we're going to approach these goals in a way that you could think of like a round of golf. Each hole in a round of golf requires a different approach to get to the objective, and the objective is the flag pin. And in our golf bag, we have over a dozen different clubs. Each of these are tools used for different purposes. We may not be able to put the ball exactly where we want it every time, but we're going to make sure it stays in bounds and on the fairway. The packet that you have in front of you is your comprehensive financial plan. This is going to guide you towards reaching these goals that you have. I'll serve as your personal caddy to help you choose those right clubs and make the best decisions to keep your ball in play and to get your ball in the hole with the fewest amount of strokes. And all you have to do is take the shots and keep your eye on the flag pin. I'll start off this meeting by speaking about your investments. I usually start with this because investments serve as the foundation of your plan. The performance of your investments are highly correlated or related to the outcome of your goals. By using some effective investment strategies, we'll create a customized portfolio that will serve as the energy to really push your savings to make the most of them. You may remember the risk tolerance questionnaire that I had you fill out in our previous meeting. This gives me an idea of where you stand in regards to how much risk you're able to tolerate. When investing, risk is generally associated with movements in value that you may see in a portfolio or a particular investments. You may hear the words fluctuation or volatility. When an investment is less predictable in regards to our expectation of its future value, that investment holds more risk. After reviewing your risk tolerance questionnaire, your portfolios may be more risky than you're actually aware of. To match the level of risk that you're willing to assume, we'll want to invest more in conservative assets and less in those risky assets. And so we usually associate risky assets with stocks. Why? Because there's no guaranteed value. Opposed to a bond, which is a less risky asset or a more conservative asset because you're promised a return and final payout when that bond matures. Currently, your ability to retire may rest on the performance of one single industry, being the technology industry. I understand that technology is booming right now, but think about the tech bubble in the early 2000s. Are we 100% positive that Apple's stock price and the technology industry will not threaten our ability to reach your goals? Like I said, there's no guarantees with stocks, and we never want to rely on one factor. This is why it's very important to diversify our investment vehicles. This is why we have different clubs in our golf bag. Diversification is a very useful tool when investing because it increases our potential for gains and it decreases the amount of risk that we end up taking. I suggest that your new portfolio consists of a group of mutual funds that will move in different ways. They'll move opposite from each other, best case scenario, to really encourage diversification. Mutual funds are great tools for investing because they provide diversification without having to invest a large amount in individual holdings or individual securities. You can view your proposed portfolio allocation in the investment section of your financial plan. While on the topic of investments, we can now discuss the way that you may plan to save for your children's education. Currently, you've saved a bit for Patricia and James's college, but you haven't contributed to their 529 plans in a while. Having a consistent flow of contributions to these accounts is absolutely crucial because of the increasing costs of tuition, textbooks, and other education expenses. The costs for these things have been outpacing inflation by 3 times, with an average of 8% a year opposed to a 3% average inflation rate. It's important to earn a significant rate of return on your education savings so we can keep up with these raising prices. We can contribute to these funds. We can contribute more funds to your existing 529 plans, the Lone Star 529, or we can explore other investment options, or other 529 options, such as American funds that offer lower fees and a more broad range of investment options. Within these accounts, it's important to invest them um, in a manner appropriate to the time horizon that you have until your children reach college. For instance, James is going to go to college in a couple of years. We don't want to invest in risky assets because we want to be confident in our ability and in that value of his portfolio, so we can really so we can withdraw those funds when we need them with the value that we expect. Unlike Patricia, she has a decent amount of time, so we may want to reach for a little bit more return in that account. We're actually going to be able to reach for more return in that account. Therefore, we should be more conservative with James's investments opposed to Patricia's. But on the other hand, unlike 529 plans, people have been choosing to fund a UGMA or UTMA account for their children's education expenses because it allows for a lot more flexibility when spending. These accounts can be used to pay for absolutely anything, not just qualified education expenses similar to 529 plans. Although these accounts do not grow tax-free like 529 plans, earnings in these accounts are taxed at your child's rate. So that means if your child works very little or earns very little before and during college, you're going to owe very little on the amount that the earnings, the amount on the earnings. But for details, please refer to the plan and let me know if you have any questions. So you're probably tired of hearing the word risk, but it's my job to help keep your ball from landing in the sand bunker or that pond next to the green. So an effective way to manage these risks are through various types of insurance. I won't go into too much detail here because you can find the specifics included in your packet, but I do want to mention a few things that I strongly consider acting upon. First, I want you to be aware that you own the most basic auto insurance policy that fulfills the Texas state minimum requirement. You may consider yourselves very safe drivers, but the thing is you are never completely protected against those who are uninsured. So there's something called Part C, Part C that you can include in addition to your existing auto insurance policy that covers the liability from the 1 in 10 motorists who drive uninsured in Texas. On top of that, you may consider a Part D, which provides other than collision damage, such as theft, fire, hail, vandalism, etc. And on the other hand, Mary will not have the benefit of being provided health insurance or disability insurance through her employer because she is her own employer. So she may need to purchase those herself, and you can review the details in the plan. But a few more things I'd like to suggest in regards to insurance is an umbrella policy and a professional liability policy. An umbrella policy is one that goes above and beyond your homeowner's insurance or your current auto insurance policy, and it's pretty self-explanatory. So your policy limit or the amount of coverage that you have for your homeowner's insurance may not be able to cover that person who comes in purposely falls in your backyard and decides to try to get a settlement in court. Due to the title that Mary has as a contract radiologist, people might associate that title with people who have accumulated a lot of wealth, and they may go and intentionally harm themselves for that settlement. And similarly, the nature of Mary's career involves a fair amount of risk. So to protect herself from lawsuits made by negligent claims made by clients in her practice, you may consider purchasing a professional liability insurance, and this covers you from the potential for those lawsuits. An important question you brought up in our initial meeting was what you should do with that inherited IRA that you recently obtained. These accounts are really tricky and require something called required minimum distributions, or also known as RMDs. So by December 1st of 2017, you'll be required to take out a distribution that equates to around $13,000, depending on the value of your account. And this amount's going to have to be withdrawn every year in order to avoid a penalty. And the amount's going to vary depending on Mary's age and the value of the account. But it's going to be significant. It's going to really help you out with funding your living expenses, so that you can use more of your income to save for retirement and your goals. But although the growth of these withdrawals are taxed at your ordinary income rate. So in regards to tax, I'll now start with the tax portion of your plan. It's probably a good time for that. There's going to be a lot of tax implications that come along with all these moving parts in your plan. So before we ever decide to implement a change to your financials, or act or make an investment or a transaction, we should always think about the potential estate, gift, or income tax implications that may follow. I'm willing to sit down with you two and a licensed CPA to further discuss these issues, and you can find most of these details for tax implications regarding your personal exemptions, your mortgage, insurance, education funding, investments, etc. But I would like to spend this time discussing tax implications that may come with Mary's ordinary income as a contract worker, as a radiologist. So Mary, because you're a contractor and you're considered self-employed, you will be filing Schedule C income tax form. You will be responsible for paying the full Social Security tax because you are indeed the employee and the employer. In most cases, this tax is split between the two, but in your case, you must pay the full 12.4% up to the Social Security wage base for 2016, which is $118,500. But on the other hand, this cap doesn't apply to Medicare taxes. You must pay these Medicare taxes up to your full earned income. But similar to Social Security, this tax is usually split between the employee and the employer. But since you're technically both, you're going to have to pay a full 2.9% on your paycheck. And on top of that, since you have a combined income of over $250,000, you may be subject to the Affordable Care Act taxes. And you're going to have to pay 0.9% on income over $250,000, and an additional 3.8% on your investment income. I know this may seem overwhelming for you, but there's a lot of costs associated with accumulating a lot of money in America. But don't worry, we'll sit down with someone who does this for a living, and they'll be able to answer your questions and give you a much better understanding of these tax issues. Now we'll discuss a part of your plan that most people try to avoid. It's not the most fun to discuss, but right now your current estate planning is lacking. In order to ensure that your assets will be given to those who you desire, we need to modify your current will, and we need to start thinking about people who you trust, who we can elect to make the important financial decisions and medical decisions for you and your family in the case that you're not able to. So for these, we're going to work closely with the Texas licensed estate attorney when drafting these important documents to ensure that they align with Texas state laws and regulations. But we're going to want to make sure that your will is up to date, and we want to make sure that when the time comes, there's somebody who is able to carry out all the instructions in your will and pass all your assets on to those who you desire. We need to also let your loved ones know where your important documents are, your investment accounts, your bank account statements, your Social Security card, your medical, all your insurance documents. We need to make sure we know where all those are to make it an easy process to gift all your assets. And as well, I remember you discussing that you wanted to leave a bequest to your family and your children and a charity. So included in your plan mentions various trusts that you may consider opening to fund those goals, and also to give you some tax breaks, especially with a charitable remainder trust. But I definitely recommend that we meet with a trust officer to really review the implications with opening these accounts. But now we'll discuss the fun part, your retirement, right? We need to discuss the options you have to continue to save for retirement. In our last meeting, I remember James asking about his options to choose between a teacher retirement system or an optional retirement plan. TRS is something called a defined benefit program, which may give you a very predictable stream of income in retirement. The amount you receive will be based off your average income and the amount of years that you work there and state contributions. But the thing is the investments are left up to the state, opposed to an ORP, which the investments are left up to you. In an ORP, it's a defined contribution plan where Texas A&M will match your contributions up to 6% of your income and 6% of your contribution, and you're able to choose those investments as you wish. But historically, I see investment advisors such as myself are able to generate returns that significantly outperform the returns associated with defined benefit plans. So ultimately, it's going to be your decision. But as your fee-only advisor, it's in both of our best interests to see your accounts grow. In your plan, I have projected your ability to reach your goals based off your decision to select an ORP, but it's totally your call when it comes to choosing these, and I'm very open to you to changing your plan if you decide to go with the TRS. But Mary, as a contract radiologist with no employees on your payroll, I highly encourage you to open up a SEP IRA. It stands for Simplified Employee Pension Plan. It acts similar to a traditional IRA, and you're going to be able to contribute $53,000 a year, and earnings on these accounts are going to be tax deferred, similar to an IRA. I've also estimated you to contribute the maximum to both these accounts, as well as a traditional IRA for each of you to help fund your retirement goals. Even though you're going to be saving much more than you are currently, the amount of income that you're going to be making in College Station is going to provide for a very, very, very small, if any, change in your everyday expenses. So you really won't notice any changes, even though you're going to be saving a significantly more amount. But to estimate your ability to reach these goals that I've listed, I've used something called a Monte Carlo simulation. It's a tool that combines all the moving parts in your financial plan to estimate the likelihood that you're going to be able to fund your goals. It takes into account many possibilities of investment returns that you may earn based on various economic environments. With all the assumptions that I've made in your plan, I've calculated a 78% chance for you to fund your goals and possibly much, much more. One of the only goals that I've altered is your annual travel expense in retirement. I've estimated that you both will travel for 15 years opposed to 25 years in retirement. Most people see themselves traveling for decades, but when in reality, retirees usually stop traveling around ages or after about 10 to 15 years in retirement because they start getting brittle and they want to be close to family in their final years. But even with that being said, you'll be able to travel until your ages 82 and 80. So it really doesn't change too much. But the thing is these are not set in stone. You can take and pull from different goal funding for different goals. If you want to travel more, you can decide not to purchase that sports car and travel for an extra few years, or decide to work for a few more years as well. I've been approaching these in a very conservative way. But I may be approaching these too conservatively, and you may have plenty of money to travel for as long as you want. But with modern day technology and medical care, people these days tend to live much longer than those than previous generations. For this reason, you may have to work a few years past your desired retirement ages of 62 and 60 due to your healthy lifestyles. Combining all these suggestions that I've made to your plan, I've estimated a 78% chance that you can fund these wishes and your goals. Opposed to less than 40% if you decide to only work to 62 and 60. But with this being said, I've provided a plan of action at the end of your plan that lays out all the options for you to choose from that you can execute for your financial way of life so it can live up to your expectations and possibly much, much more. And as your financial planner, I'll stand by you to help you choose the right clubs. I'm going to be your caddy to help you take the right shots to land your ball where you want it. Like I said, I'm your caddy. All you have to do is take the shots and keep your eye on the flag pin. So James and Mary, thank you very much for your time. I look forward to working with you and our licensed, qualified individuals to help you make these decisions and carry out a successful retirement and to fill all your financial goals. So thank you very much for your time.